Would you mind stating your name, your year, and your major?
Yeah, my name is Abigail Gelso. I am a junior and I'm double majoring in criminal justice and psychology.
And could you just tell us a brief overview of your internship?
Definitely. So I was an investigations, diligence, and compliance intern at Kroll. Essentially, I conducted investigative research for clients who were wanting to do business with other business individuals or companies. So essentially, it was kind of a corporate background check that I was doing on different individuals and companies and organizations. I would look at if they've been involved in any disputes, such as HR disputes, lawsuits, kind of what we called red flags, anything that somebody would want to know if they're doing business with a company, if they had a product recalled, and then I would compile all of this into a report, which would then be sent off to the client.
Amazing. That sounds really cool. So first, specific question. When you think back on your internship, what was your aha moment where you felt that you were trusted with something important?
I would say my aha moment during my internship was when I was given the lead for a case. A lot of times our cases would have multiple subjects. If it's like one company that we're researching but then multiple execs within that company, it would be multiple researchers on the same case. And for this one, I believe it was around 7 researchers total, so it was a pretty big case, and I was given lead status, which was my first time ever being the lead researcher on a case, and for such a big case too was kind of surprising, but definitely made me feel really proud of myself for all the work that I had done that led me to being the lead researcher in that moment. And it was a really mostly smooth process. I mean, my supervisors helped me a lot and gave me some tips and tricks for managing all the other researchers, especially given that I was an intern working with other fellow interns and then also associates. So I would definitely say being given lead researcher on a big case was definitely my aha moment.
Amazing. And how did using your Hungarian language skills shape your role on the team and kind of how you saw yourself as a member of that team?
I mean, a lot of other interns and associates on this team were also fluent in foreign languages. That's kind of what a lot of what made candidates like really stand out for this position, and I would definitely think that maybe that's the main reason why I got this internship, because I don't think I necessarily had the exact skills coming into it for this internship, and being fluent in Hungarian was I guess important, given that also I learned that I was the only Hungarian speaker at Kroll, and so I would work with a lot of different people. Sometimes I wouldn't necessarily be a researcher on the case. I would just be there to provide support and clarification, and also just do some additional scoping for cases, making sure that researchers had accurate information, as oftentimes they would be, using Google Translate for things, because they would be looking at Hungarian government records and corporate records, and I would kind of step in just to clarify certain things. So I would definitely say I was I guess a helper or a supporter of sorts on the team, because just a lot of times I would be assisting, but then other times too I was given cases that deliberately needed a Hungarian researcher and speaker to do research for it, so I think I definitely was a supporter of sorts.
Yeah, that's incredible. Can you just walk us through what a typical day in this role looked like for you?
Yeah, definitely. So at the very beginning of each day, we had a meeting with the whole intern team, and this internship spans across all U.S. Kroll offices. So it would be a virtual meeting, and we would essentially kind of go over all the cases that were due for the day. Sometimes we would have cases that the editors had a due date that day, or it was a client deadline where we had to deliver it to the client. And sometimes people had multiple deadlines, so it's just really helpful to go over each deadline for the day, and also just like a check-in for everybody. And then essentially we'd be let loose to just work on our cases. So what I would start with is pulling out my planner, looking at if I had anything due today, and then making a checklist for myself. Sometimes I had to, I was collaborating with other people in other departments, so I had to look for my emails, see if I got any responses, if I needed to follow up with anybody, if I was waiting on a response still, checking in with other members of my team if I had cases that had multiple researchers on them, and then essentially just doing all of the research for different cases, trying to finish as many cases as possible, as a lot of them would only take 3 to 4 hours each, sometimes even less. And then there would be some cases that for a specific client, it would just take 15 minutes for what exactly that they were looking for. It was really quick. So it's honestly kind of a go, trying to knock out as much as possible. But then there are also other cases that were estimated to take 20 hours. So those were kind of more long-term cases, and it was just planning out everything that needed to be done within the week.
Yeah. So what surprised you the most about working on such a high-stakes work in a professional setting?
I would say the work itself definitely surprised me. Before interning there, I had no idea that this was a job that somebody could have, and I think it's really interesting. But in terms of a high-stakes setting, I guess the amount of information that you can find about a person online. We were taught different tools and ways to research on both, Google as well as different databases, and obviously these were more so people who have a lot of information in like the professional and corporate world, but we were also kind of able to find other information about people that is more personal, I would say. So that was really interesting. I mean, everybody always talks about like all of your information is online, but to actually have that be my job and to see it in real life, I would say is the most surprising. And also the fact that I, as an undergraduate student, was working on these high stakes cases where we're looking into subjects who are pretty prominent businesses in the world, and then so learning about these different companies that I also interact with in my own life was, I would just say, really surprising, and just being an undergrad working on these cases was super interesting.
Yeah, no, that's really fascinating. How did this experience change or clarify what you want to pursue next in terms of your career or educational goals?
Yeah. I would say it definitely clarified that I want to be working in an environment where there's teamwork, but more specifically in-person teamwork. I was not at all a fan of the virtual meetings and the constant team messages. And yeah, I would be meeting with a lot of people over Teams and things like that, but it was also at the same time kind of isolating work. Because a lot of it was kind of individual, you're just focusing on your one subject, and you kind of hunker down at your desk, do your work, maybe meet with somebody, maybe message somebody, but I really felt like I was missing out on that feeling of, walking to somebody else's desk or knocking on somebody's door and saying, hey, can I check in on this with you, or can you help me clarify this, or having somebody else come to you for help. So I think that definitely clarified what exactly of a work environment that I'm wanting, and I think that that's going to be incredibly helpful for when I graduate and I'm looking for a full-time job, and something that I will be seeking out and maybe even asking on interviews if that's the work environment at that company.